30 Timeless Life Lessons from Galileo. Wisdom, Humor, and Inspiration. 1. And yet, it moves. One day, Galileo made a huge mistake at work and was harshly reprimanded by his boss. After the meeting, his colleague asked, "Are you okay? What are you going to do?" Galileo shrugged and said, "Well, I'll manage. After all, the Earth still moves." The colleague laughed and replied, "Sure, but you also need to get your project moving." Galileo chuckled, "True. Let's get the next one rolling." And together, they cheerfully started planning their next project. 2. Truth is a gift from God, and it is open to all equally. Galileo was playing a game with a friend and kept winning. The friend sighed, "You always win. I feel like truth is beyond my reach." Galileo laughed and said, "Truth is a gift from God, and everyone has access to it. You just need to know how to use it." The friend asked, "Can you teach me how to use it?" Galileo smiled, "Start by holding the controller tightly." The friend laughed and replied, "Well then, the next win will be mine," and prepared to challenge him again. 3. God has given us intellect, and not using it is an insult to Him. One weekend, Galileo was lounging on the couch when his friend asked, "With all your intelligence, are you okay with just lazing around like that?" Galileo grinned and replied, "To use intellect, you need to rest it first. The brain needs its battery recharged, you know." The friend laughed and said, "So, your intellect is on a break?" Galileo nodded, "Yep. But once it's fully charged, I'll be back in action," he said with a grin. 4. The universe is written in the language of mathematics. During a math lesson, one student asked Galileo, "Teacher, I'm not good at math. How am I supposed to understand the language of the universe?" Galileo chuckled. "The universe is indeed written in mathematics. But don't worry, I'll be your translator." The student jokingly asked, "Does this translation come with a fee?" Galileo smiled and said, "No. But the price is your hard work in learning it." 5. We must prioritize observed facts and eliminate prejudice. After conducting a new experiment, Galileo's colleague doubted the results. "This doesn't match our previous data. Maybe it's wrong?" The colleague said. Galileo calmly replied, "A different result might mean something new is happening. If we stick to expectations, we could miss a major discovery." The colleague nodded, "You're right. Sometimes our preconceptions get in the way." They both smiled and got back to examining the facts. 6. To question is to open the door to knowledge. Galileo asked his students to raise questions during his lecture. One student asked, "Teacher, don't you get tired of always questioning things?" Galileo laughed. "Questions are the key that opens the door to knowledge. Without them, the door stays closed and you can't go inside." The student responded, "But sometimes the door feels too heavy to open." Galileo smiled. Don't worry, with practice, the door becomes lighter. 7. I celebrate God's glory not in physics, but in mathematics. While chatting with a friend, the friend asked, "You're a genius in physics. So why do you focus so much on math?" Galileo explained, "Physics explains visible phenomena, but math reveals the invisible design of God. That's why I find glory in mathematics." The friend joked, "So, if I study math, will I get closer to God?" Galileo smiled. "Exactly. God's words are hidden in equations, you know." 8. The pursuit of science depends on how we engage with the real world. A young researcher asked Galileo, "How can we make scientific discoveries faster?" Galileo laughed. "It's not about speed, but about carefully observing the real world. Science is based on reality, not imagination." The researcher asked, "So should we stop dreaming?" Galileo grinned. "No, dreams are important too. But it's all about balancing dreams with reality." 9. Human intellect is finite, but the effort to understand the infinite universe is worthwhile. When Galileo's friend asked, "Why do you try to understand the universe if our intellect has limits?" Galileo smiled. "Our intellect may be limited, but it's still worth the effort to explore the infinite universe." The friend joked, "Sounds like an endless game." Galileo laughed. "Exactly. But that's what makes it fun." 10. Each new discovery surprises me again with the depth of the universe's mysteries. When Galileo made a new discovery, his friend asked, "Why are you always so surprised? Aren't you used to this by now?" Galileo laughed and said, "The universe always surprises me by exceeding my expectation. That's what makes it so exciting." The friend asked, "When's the next discovery?" Galileo winked. "Ask the universe." 11. Knowledge is power, and it should not be feared. Galileo was discussing with a friend who said, "You know so much, it's a little intimidating." Galileo laughed. "Knowledge is power, but it's not something to be afraid of. It's a tool we can use to make the world better." The friend replied, "I don't know how to use that power, though." Galileo smiled. "Start with small things. The more you use it, the better you'll get." 12. The truth gained from observation is more valuable than any theory. While conducting an experiment, Galileo's assistant said, "But theoretically, the result should be different." Galileo smiled. "Theory is important, but the truth lies in what we observe. Always trust what you see." The assistant asked, "So is theory useless?" Galileo responded, "No, it's like a map. But sometimes the actual landscape differs from the map." 13. There is a law in everything, and discovering it is the mission of science. Galileo was playing a game with a friend when the friend asked, "How do you always win?" Galileo grinned. "Every game has rules. Science is the same, it's all about finding the laws behind everything. The friend laughed. Can you teach me those rules? Galileo replied, you have to find them yourself. That's the fun part. 14. By understanding the universe, we understand ourselves. Galileo and his friend were stargazing when the friend asked, what's the point of understanding the universe? Galileo smiled. By understanding the universe, we understand who we are and where we come from. The friend replied, maybe I should start exploring the universe too. Galileo laughed. That's the secret to a richer life. 15. I know nothing, but I will continue to search. A young researcher asked Galileo, you already know so much. What are you still searching for? Galileo laughed. I actually know nothing, but the fun is in the search itself. The researcher was surprised and said, so, we'll never stop searching, right? Galileo replied, exactly. That's the joy of being a scientist. 16. All discoveries are built upon layers of failure. During an experiment, Galileo's assistant asked, why don't you give up after so many failures? Galileo smiled. Every discovery is built on failure. Each failure brings us closer to success. The assistant asked, isn't it exhausting to fail so much? Galileo replied, it is. But it makes the eventual success even sweeter. 17. Curiosity is the force that leads us to the unknown. One day, a child asked Galileo, how do you know so many things? Galileo smiled. Curiosity leads me to explore the unknown. The most important thing is to stay curious. The child asked, if I stay curious, will I be like you? Galileo smiled, of course. Your curiosity will lead you on your own adventure. 18. Truth is absolute, existing regardless of time or place. During a discussion on history, Galileo's friend said, but truth changes depending on the time and place, right? Galileo shook his head. No, truth is absolute. It exists regardless of when or where you are. The friend asked, but isn't it hard to find? Galileo replied, yes. But when you find it, the joy is immeasurable. 19. Our knowledge is born from the desire to know. Galileo's assistant asked, why do you keep researching so enthusiastically? Galileo smiled, because I have a desire to know more. That desire fuels my pursuit of knowledge. The assistant asked, what if you no longer want to know? Galileo laughed. That day will never come. There's always more to discover. 20. Those who never doubt never learn. During a lecture, a student asked Galileo, why do you always doubt things? Galileo laughed. If you don't doubt anything, you'll never learn anything. Doubt leads to knowledge. The student asked, but doesn't doubting everything get tiring? Galileo smiled. That's the first step to learning. And beyond that, there are always new discoveries waiting.